The more we see Patrick Mahomes win MVPs, Super Bowls, achieve accolade after accolade, the less people seem to actually understand how he really plays the game. Mahomes is known for his elite arm strength, but what if I told you that even after the Chiefs won their second Super Bowl in as many years, he was statistically one of the worst deep ball passers in the entire NFL? Today we'll dive into why that is and why it forced the Chiefs to revamp their offense this offseason. When looking at his deep passing numbers, Pro Football Focus categorizes this as 20 air yards or more. His numbers are surprisingly bad. Of course, this isn't just because of him, also the team around him, which we'll get into. But he, or the Chiefs if you want to say, routinely ranked outside the top 32 best quarterbacks in multiple key metrics, and I've boiled down these issues into three main categories: bad inexperience surrounding talent, lack of communication with that bad talent, and Mahomes struggling a bit himself. When the Chiefs lost Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman after the 2022 Super Bowl, they were forced to play with younger, more inexperienced receivers who were never able to step up. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a vet but has never been much of a difference maker, so the Chiefs were forced to rely more on scheming guys open instead of relying on winning one-on-one matchups. We've talked about alert concepts a million times in this channel. It's typically when you isolate a receiver outside away from the concept. Concepts stretch out the defenders and require more of a progression, but if the quarterback sees he has a one-on-one and likes the matchup, he can ignore the whole concept to the left and throw the isolated route outside. These ISO alert routes are usually for a Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams type of receiver that can torch a one-on-one matchup. So when you do have those guys, defenses are forced to bring another defender over to give the cornerback help over the top, which makes the rest of your defensive coverage weaker and makes the concept side of the play call more formidable. When defenses have these two deep safeties, as opposed to just one if they moved Kirby Joseph over to double the alert, the second-level linebackers and cornerbacks wouldn't be as comfortable nuzzling back into these curl windows and blanketing the concept. Without the threat of that elite outside receiver, the Chiefs were forced to rely more on concepts, scheme, rather than just beating your ass one-on-one and forcing you to allocate more resources to take away a top-tier receiver. They have this sweet throwback play-action concept where Mahomes rolls to his right like they're running a sail concept. But if there was just one high safety, he'd have to overcommit to the corner route, which leaves the middle of the field wide open. But because defenses play two high safeties and don't have to worry about that ISO alert concept outside, this is a dead play. As I said, this forced the Chiefs to just use concepts instead of relying on their guys to win their matchups, which isn't all bad, but when the defense knows how to defend the concepts, you are pretty much screwed. On 3rd and 2, they're trying to set this pick play with MVS and Sky Moore. They know it's man coverage because the Lions play a ton of it and aren't scared of any of the Chiefs winning one-on-ones. So the idea is that MVS will set a pick against Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, whose band is Sky Moore, so Moore will then come wide open. But since defenses know they're going to get concepts, there is a specific way to defend specific concepts. So if the defense executes their plan, Mahomes has nowhere to throw, except for the fact that he's Mahomes. I do want to point out how well this concept is designed. More motions all the way across to force a defensive check. So now Gardner-Johnson is on him, then as he goes all the way outside, the Lions have to switch Cameron Sutton onto him, then back to Gardner-Johnson, then switch again during the play. But even when the concept is well designed and well executed, you're pretty screwed if the defense knows what's coming. This play transitions us into our second category, miscommunication, and this came from the Chiefs' inexperience at the skill positions. Losing Juju and Hardman skill-wise wasn't too bad, but in terms of experience, it heavily affected the offense. Especially when you have to rely more on concepts, which require more execution, you want veterans who know how the game works, know the playbook inside and out. That is where the Chiefs struggled. This is the same exact concept as the pick play against the Lions. Once again, Sky Moore is running the little vertical wheel, but now rookie Rashee Rice is the guy supposed to pick off the defender. Here the Packers don't switch, so if Rice gets vertical and sets a good pick, Moore should be wide open, but he doesn't, and Moore and Mahomes are not on the same page. My typical rule of thumb for elite quarterbacks like Mahomes is that when there's a miscommunication, they are never the one who's wrong. But this one might be on him. Usually on this type of concept, if Keyshawn Nixon gets picked, you want to go vertical, like they do. But if Nixon is busting his ass over the top, you want to go underneath, which is what Moore does, because that's where Nixon's positioned. But Mahomes lets her rip. Regardless of who is right, the two Chiefs are not on the same page. A lot of the time, it wasn't guys running the wrong routes, just the wrong adjustments on the routes, where the receivers and quarterback read the coverage differently. Here against man coverage, Rice has this corner route, but the angle he takes is wrong. Mahomes expects him to run up the field because he's worried a cornerback could fall off from his guy and easily pick the ball off. But Rice sees the open space and runs the route flatter, and it's incomplete. On the same concept, now it's tight end Noah Gray running the corner. This one might be on Mahomes now. Gray runs this similar to Rice. But with the one high safety, I think Gray is actually doing what he's supposed to be, which is running away from him. But once again, multiple Chiefs are not on the same page. This just kept happening over and over, where Mahomes would target his receivers deep, but they weren't in sync after the snap. These last three are all good throws if his guy is running where he thinks he is, but oftentimes they weren't, and the downfield passing game suffered because of it. Sometimes the receivers just didn't see the coverage correctly. It was blatantly obvious that Mahomes was trying to throw away from defenders, but his receiving group just didn't get the memo. Sometimes their routes didn't make any sense at all. I have never seen a fade bend inside like this. Truthfully, you'd never want to go back into the leverage of the cornerback. Also, you're cutting off some of the space you've won by going back towards the middle instead of straight down the field. So you'd constantly see Mahomes throwing to places his receivers should have been, but weren't. Other times, Mahomes just didn't play to the same level we're used to see him playing, which is our third category. I think with the amount of inexperience and inability from his receivers, he didn't look as comfortable as we've seen him play in the past. There were several times where he didn't reach Justin Watson deep over the top. Watson runs a 4.44 40. You'd think Mahomes would be eager to bomb the ball deep as far as he could. But there were weird underthrown balls that were completely out of character. In the first game of the year, these struggles were on display for everybody to see. The Lions didn't seem to care about the Chiefs' deep passing game right from the get-go, and there were opportunities. But against this 4 deep quarters look, deep posts you wouldn't think could work because we have these 2 deep safeties. But oftentimes in quarters, the safeties have their attention focused inside and a post can slip behind them. Once Mahomes sees they're settling in the middle, this is a classic home run post look with the cornerback outside leverage on Watson. You have all the space in the world here. Pat has a clean pocket, but just a really weird underthrown ball behind him that's almost intercepted. Studying Mahomes' deep passing cut-up, my main takeaway is that he was, like I said, uncomfortable. This is a smash concept against cover 2 zone, which is exactly the coverage you want against this concept. We're isolating this defender, and either he carries the out route or falls back for the corner route, so we throw to where he isn't. When Mahomes gets to the top of his drop, he's got a clean pocket and can throw the corner to Watson with a little anticipation. But for some reason, he starts running for a step, then makes this absolutely absurd throw that Watson has to toe tap. Throwing down the field for the Chiefs was hard all year long. Pat still had some absolutely unbelievable plays. I don't want to seem like he was bad last year, not at all the case. But the Chiefs' offense just didn't look like it has in the past. Tossing it back to the first category, the lack of talent, I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the drops and the offensive line. The Chiefs led the league with 39 drops. Their receivers had the highest percentage of drop passes. And then the tackle play was horrible as well. Donovan Smith, who's not currently rostered on any NFL team, was not what they thought he'd be. He'd just get torched, and Mahomes would have to run off his spot. Sometimes he'd just make weird decisions like jump setting on a long developing pass. He's like running out to hit his guy, who he's supposed to protect from getting to the pocket, and it would completely blow up the play and ruin everything. The Chiefs' deep passing failures are the main reason why they've retooled their offense. They drafted the fastest receiver of all time, at least from what the Underwear Olympics says in Xavier Worthy, and also picked up Hollywood Brown, who's fast as hell himself. The two speed demons will stretch out defenses like the Chiefs couldn't in 2023, but also, at least Hollywood, will provide that veteran presence they were missing. Even in a year where Kansas City struggled at times on offense and couldn't push the ball deep at all, they won another Super Bowl. With their same defense back and their offense retooled, rejuiced, and rejuvenated, the Kansas City Chiefs are primed to be the first team ever to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.